Welcome, welcome, welcome back to AG University Podcast. It is I, your professor, lead dancing unicorn, and your host at Anna Grace Newell on all major platforms. If you're new here, I always recommend starting with episode number 1 if you want to get a better understanding of Akashic Records and the type of work I do and how I came in to this role that I'm leading today. I am a clairvoyant medium, Akashic Records practitioner, and an intuitive guide. And we're going to dive right into it today, you guys, because I have some really exciting life updates and information for you that, yeah, I just can't wait. But I love sharing my own personal stories because I feel like it's a really accurate representation for how manifestation works and how creating your own language with the universe can look, so that it is an expansion, or I can be an expander in your life for how you can create your own universal language of love with the universe, how you can create and ask for signs and receive them and, get confirmation that you're on the right path. A lot of you guys are new to this work and you're new to connecting with your intuition, which this is a school from the cosmos, a school of intuition. And I'm here to really be an activator of your intuitive knowing, your intuitive gifts inside of you that you all have. Everyone is intuitive. You all have an intuition that's been planted inside of you like a seed. We just got to pull it out. We got to listen to her. We got to water her. We got to love her. And by doing so, she becomes stronger, like this beautiful knowledge of tree that you have access to inside of you all the time. So I know I say this on every podcast episode, but it is a reminder today that you are an intuitive being, you're an intuitive creature, and you're here for a reason. If you're tuning into this podcast, I always tell people, they're always like, yeah, I feel so drawn to the Akashic Records. I don't even know what it is. I'm like, Akashic Records is such niche content that if you found me or you even know what the Akashic Records are, it's meant for you. Okay. You have the ability to access them. So many people think that they have to become an Akashic Record reader or share. You don't have to tell anyone. You could just access the Akashic Records for yourself, for your dog, for your mom and dad. You really could just tap in just to feel more connected to yourself. So I love that we can start talking about intuition, but we can also go all the way up to the Akashic Records, which also, if you're unfamiliar and need a refresher, it is your soul's library, God's plan. It is your journey. It is angel readings. It is connecting with a super, super high vibrational consciousness that is pure love. Only love exists on that plane. That's why I love to teach this work, because it is the safest place for you to deeply connect with your knowing and your plan and your soul's mission and your soul's purpose and what you're doing here. And I am obsessed. And I just want everyone to be able to access the Akashic Records. Right now, I have an Akashic Records course that's always linked in the show notes if you feel so called. And I'm really excited because I really want to build out some more in-person events and situations where you guys can practice, because practice circles was how I got started. It's basically just anyone who's studying and learning can come together and play in the Akashic Records. Any intuitive gifts, spiritual gifts, anything, connecting with your higher self. The best way to approach it is to be playful, not to put too much pressure on it, and to just explore and be curious and follow your curiosity. If you're here for a reason. And I literally have created the safest playground for you guys. Like, I just feel like my energy is a really good place to start, because I will hold your hand and I will guide you through this. And if you're here, then those gifts are ready to be activated inside of you. So I'm really excited that you're here. And as always, I love you so much. And thanks for letting me speak into your ear holes every Wednesday. So let's get into a little life update, dun, 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 which is so funny because my mom was like, don't tell anyone yet until it's officially finalized. And da, da, da. But you guys, I have to tell the podcast, because I have to podcast what's happening in my real time life. Because if I wait like 3 or 4 months, then the story isn't as potent. And yeah, I can't. My whole life is to share things. My mom, it drives her crazy. She's like, you share too much. I'm like, I love it. I love sharing my life. I think it's really fun. And I just feel like we're all on this inside joke together. That is me sharing my life. And welcome. Welcome to this like insider's view. So I'm going to put it on the podcast first. Always. Podcast gets everything first. And then Instagram stories and everywhere else like trickles later. But of course, I have a saga. So when I was, let me set the stage. We're deep in the Costa Rica retreat. It was the day that we went horseback riding. It was so magical. We all went into the waterfall. That was the day I went skinny dipping, and the girls No one else skinny dipped with me except for my next door neighbor, Taylor. She came to Costa Rica with us. But by the end of the trip, everyone was skinny dipping. So it was still early on. Everyone was still, getting comfortable, but it was the most, I think it was really everyone's favorite day besides our last day. That one was really magical. But we were swimming in the waterfalls and horseback riding, and we ended up going to these hot springs where it's a natural volcanic hot spring. So the water is like over 100 degrees. And it's also got tons of nutrients. And there's like a volcanic mud that's really great for your skin. So your skin can absorb all of the good salts and magnesium and all the good nutrients that are available to us via nature. So it was really cool. So we go into these hot springs. We're all swimming around. We're playing. The sun's starting to set. Evening is upon us. We're all getting pretty tired. And I'm sitting next to one of the girls on the retreat. I'm not sure she wants me to share her name in this. So maybe I'll follow up with her and get back to you guys. But she's sitting beside me and she just looks at me in the face. We're not conversing. Everyone's kind of tired. We're all just kind of just sitting and taking in the scenery. And she just looks at me and she goes, hummingbird. And I was like, what? And she was like, there's going to be a hummingbird inside of your future house. Cause I told the girls, I was like, I'm thinking we might buy a house. This opportunity has come available to us, but we won't tour the house or get enough information until we're home from the trip. So on the trip, I was just kind of manifesting and playing and, just my future higher self energy, but that was it. And she looks at me and she says, hummingbird. There's going to be a hummingbird inside the house, and that's your sign if it's your house or not. Because whatever house you buy, there is a hummingbird in there. And she is playing in her psychic gifts. She's very much so stepping into her purpose as being an intuitive guide. And so she's really tapped in. And I was like, okay, all right, hummingbird, I believe it. And it's interesting too, because a hummingbird is never really my sign for anything. And so I liked that that was what she was picking up on. Even though hummingbird might be a sign for a lot of people, who knows? But it's not typically one that I reach for. So I was like, okay, bet, universe, it's on. So Austin and I, we get home from the trip and we do our first walkthrough of the house, which is the first time we've ever really been inside the house versus just like seeing it from the outside or seeing a few pictures. And I told Austin, because even the night before we went into the house, I dreamt about the hummingbird. And I was like, okay, that's our sign. So I told Austin, I was like, well, the girl on the retreat told me that that's our sign. And then last night I dreamt about it. So that's confirmation. So we go through the house. It's me, Austin, and Zane at this point. The three of us are all together. And so I was a little distracted because we were talking with the homeowners as an older couple. And so they were talking to us the whole time and we're kind of going through. I'm also trying to take photos and pictures so that I can show to my mom so that we can just talk about every angle because my parents are they're really smart when it comes to buying houses. And I just like don't know what to look for, like all the crevasses. So I just took lots of videos. So I wasn't as focused as I wanted to be, but I still was, my eyes were scanning for that hummingbird. I'm like, where is the hummingbird? And it's very much so a beach themed house. So hummingbirds aren't really in the beachy theme. Like there's lots of, turtles and mermaids and starfish and ocean paintings and, the vibes. And so we leave, and in my head, I'm kind of like, oh, darn, I don't know. Is this maybe not the house because there's no hummingbird? But I just felt so aligned with this house. I'm like, it just makes sense. Like the location, it's everything that I've been manifesting. Also, it just fell into our lap, and that's kind of how things work for me. And I was just like, I feel like this is it. Okay. But, I'm also like, I'm staying open. I'm in full surrender mode. I'm not going to clamp too tight to anything because you just never know. So a few days go by and we end up getting the price for the house, and it was way lower than what we were expecting them to ask for, which was also a miracle. I also manifested that because they really could have asked for a little bit more money, but that's okay. We were like, we're happy. We're so happy with this number because this number is in our price range. Like it was flirting on being a little bit outside of our price range. And I was like, oh, I don't want to get too attached. And then we find out the number is like, right, it's boom, perfectly in our price range. So then I was like, okay, this is a great price. We're for sure this area's the value is only increasing in this area. So it's a great investment as well. So we talked to my dad, and my dad knows a lot about real estate and he's been in that sector for many years. He's retired now, but previously he was. And so he tells us a couple things to look for and questions to ask because I'm like, I don't know what to ask. Especially being in Florida, you have to know there's just a lot more kind of hoops to jump through because we're close to the ocean. So it brings in a lot of questions around like hurricane, flood, insurance, the sea salt, like basically like fucks with everything faster than the normal houses. I'm doing a really bad job explaining it, but you get what I'm saying. You just need to know a little bit more of what you're getting into about the house before you purchase something super close to the ocean. So my dad prepares a list of questions. He's like, go back through, do one more walkthrough, and make sure this is exactly what you want. Make sure you love it. Just really go in. And I was like, okay. So I remember I was sitting exactly in this spot, and this is kind of my office slash recording spot. And I was journaling, and I put my hands together in prayer, and I said, universe, God, Jesus, anybody who will send me this sign of confirmation before we embark on this massive purchase, please show me my hummingbird. I need to see the hummingbird today. And I backed off. I really wanted to see the hummingbird inside the house, but I said, you know what? I'm not going to dictate. If I get a letter in the mail today with a hummingbird stamp, I'm going to open it up to whatever way, but I need to see the sign before we go forward with, finalizing our offer and doing all the adult steps that you have to do when purchasing a home. So I say it very clearly out loud, say my prayer, express gratitude for my guides for always having my back, and I go on about my day. So that evening, once Austin gets off work, we meet up with our neighbors. We do a walkthrough in their home. We start on the bottom floor. There's kind of like a main level floor, and then there's like a room downstairs and then a room upstairs. It's kind of one of those. Technically, it's 3 stories. When I say that, it makes it sound like it's like a gigantic house. It's not. It's a normal sized home, but we started out all the way on the bottom floor. So we're on the bottom floor and we're walking through. We're asking questions. We go up to the second floor. I'm like, no hummingbird. I haven't seen a hummingbird all day. Okay, go to the second floor, go all to the bedrooms. I mean, I'm looking everywhere. I'm looking on like printed sheets. At one point, I'm like I'm measuring their closet to get a better accurate drawing, because I was kind of sketching a couple things for closet space, and I'm like literally looking for like a hummingbird on a shirt. I'm looking for a hummingbird anywhere. And so I'm like, oh, no hummingbird. Okay, we go all the way up to the top floor, which is our last stop. And we're looking out. Of course, they've got a beautiful view. I turn around, there's this big, huge wooden cabinet. And I hadn't paid attention to that cabinet before. And I look inside because it's got like glass windows. You know, like a cabinet can have like some see-through glass. You can see what's inside, kind of like almost like there's like a display level. And I look inside, and there she is. There is a big glass vase with hummingbirds all over it. And I'll post the photo, of course, on my Instagram. I'll probably do a rendition of a shortened version of this story on social media, but later, podcast gets it first. There she is. I take a picture, and I was like, Karen, what a lovely hummingbird vase you have. Please tell me all about it. And I said that really loud, and Austin looks up and he just smiles at me because he knew that I was trying to signal to him that there it is. There's our hummingbird. And I just knew, like, in that moment, it was such a beautiful confirmation. Like, I was like, okay, I knew this was our house. I felt like the price was right. I felt like everything was happening easy. I really just wanted to confirm our sign, because it's a big life decision for Austin and I, because, we are looking to start a family in the future, and this would be the house that we would do it in. And I just want to make sure that it's perfect. And when I saw that hummingbird, I was like, a rush just went through me of confirmation, of excitement, of joy. I was like, oh, this house is already ours. I just know it. So after I got that sign, I was locked and loaded. We offered them a really good price for the house that Austin and I felt really comfortable and happy with. And they were so happy with it too. Like, they literally cried and hugged me. They were so happy. And so it was a really beautiful agreement that we came to, that everyone felt like they were getting a really good winning all around. And so, yeah, I mean, we won't officially have it until our closing date, which is a few weeks away. But as of right now, we are in the very, very, like, this house is going to be ours. We are in the early stages. That's why mom's like, don't tell anyone yet till you actually own it and have possession. So we won't have possession until our closing date. But from a financial perspective, we're approved, we're good to go. The price is right, the house is right, and most importantly, I got my hummingbird. Once I got my hummingbird, I was like, that's it. House is ours. See you guys. If y'all want to move out now, we're just going to go ahead and scoot on in. Granted, it is going to take a little bit. We've got to like redo some flooring and painting and give her a little zhuzh, but it's not too much work. So I'm just so happy. But I just had to share that story with you guys because I really do. I love, love, love to encourage you guys to create your own language with the universe and to see how fun and playful it can be. Because every single time when I'm needing a sign, she comes through. She comes through for me. Thank you, universe. God, I love you so much for that sign because it was just exactly what I needed. And I wanted to put that back in y'all's wheelhouse to remind you that you have the power. You don't ever have to go see, psychics and mediums and all these people. Yes, I am one and I love that. But I always want to empower you guys that you can make these big, huge life decisions for yourself and create your own language. And your angels have been assigned to you, and it is their job and their duty to protect you, to look after you, and to help you. And so they like feeling purposeful. Remember, like when we interact with our angels and we are moving into our soul's purpose and our alignment, that is helping everybody. It's helping our angels because they're helping us raise the consciousness of our planet, which helps everyone in the universe. Our angels, guides, everyone is connecting more into love when they're in their soul's purpose and connecting to their heart. So it's a very symbiotic relationship. And I always want to share my experiences of magic because it is so magical. When I saw it, I was just like smiling so big. I'm like, ah. Of course, I put it in our Costa Rica group chat. I was like, you guys, look at the face. They're all like, ah, there she is. So I got my hummingbird, and I also love that it was a hummingbird because that's not typically my sign. And before in Costa Rica, I bought Austin some little Costa Rica socks with hummingbirds all over it because I was like, these are me socks for our new future home, manifesting it now. And sure enough, here we are. So, for whatever situation you are experiencing or approaching in your life, we are headed into eclipse season, which I shared on my podcast page, AG University podcast. I did like kind of a funny one where I'm like, eclipse season is coming, knowing literally all my shit's about to get fucked up, but in the best way, because it's like we're headed into energetic up levels. And it was just more of like a silly trend that I was doing. But really, I really feel like this eclipse season is going to bring everyone immense clarity. So get really excited for this is a time you're going to experience crystal clear knowing of what you're moving into. And I always say that if you've been feeling a little unsure of your path or uncertain of, maybe past decisions that you've made or just maybe not really like loving where you're at in this exact moment, that's okay. And we're kind of supposed to in the wintertime just be sitting pretty. We're just supposed to go within, observe, see what feels good, see what doesn't, and do a little recalibration as we come out and step into spring. So that is my eclipse messaging for you. I'll share a little bit more as we enter into eclipse season. Just know that there is a lot of clarity coming for you. And if there's any decisions that you're needing a little help or a little bit of support with, ask for a sign. And truly, all you have to do is close your eyes and say, what do I want my sign to be? Ask your higher self. Anything that comes, there's no wrong answer. It could be a fish, a dove, it could be an apple. It could literally be a string of numbers, 727. I mean, you can make it anything that you want. Connect with your higher self. Just make it something fun. Remember, it's supposed to be fun and playful. And then from there, either telepathically in your mind, you can call on your angels or your higher self and communicate this sign. I like to do it out loud sometimes just to be extra crystal clear and say it nice and loud. Usually when I'm driving, I always talk out loud to my higher self and to my angels when I'm driving. Or as always, I love to write it down in your journal. Writing it down is another way to really connect and just say like, if I see this sign, then I will know blank is in alignment with my plan, in alignment with the highest version of me, in alignment with the direction that I am moving into. And I feel like I don't recommend giving a strict timeline. I mean, granted, I think the signs usually come within 3 days. That's the time limit that I would say. Like 72 hours is typical for the universe to conspire in your favor and create a scenario where your angels can intercept you or send you a sign. But you could say, in the next week, or if you have a deadline. And also remember that no sign is a sign as well. If you don't see your sign, over, the next week or two, then you'll have your answer. So it's not like a super fast. This is but sometimes you'll literally walk outside and boom, the sign's there. You'll get the sign when you need the sign most. How about that? I really do feel like at least give it 3 days. If you're feeling like it's been 2 weeks, I haven't gotten the sign, then you check back in with your intuition and you say, angels, okay, if this is not meant for me, then maybe confirm that sign with me. And you can just create whatever language that you want. But I always like to kind of give it an if then statement. And roughly, I would say it takes about 72 hours for our angels to conspire. But also, you could walk outside and 10 minutes later get smacked in the face with your sign. Boom. So, whenever you need the sign most, and whenever you are truly getting the guidance and, ready to make the decision, the sign will appear. And just remember, no sign is also a sign as well. So if you're like, oh, I'm not getting my sign and it never comes, that's your answer too. So it is such a fun way. I remember the first time I read The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein. When she was house hunting, she asked for a sign and she ends up seeing it, I think, on a car or a license plate. And that's such a good book for anybody in your life who's maybe starting out on a newly spiritual journey, who's brand new. I think that book is such a good representation of anyone who's open to love or spirit or God, just depending on what people's belief systems are. It's kind of just how it's the approach that I carry, which is the universal language of love. Like, we're all talking about love, and if you call that love God or universe or source or higher self, to me, I totally can relate and connect with you on whatever ideology makes you feel the most comfortable and secure. um yeah, I feel like a lot of people ask me often how am I a really, really deeply spiritual person dating someone who is not necessarily as spiritual as me? And I remember when we were doing our Love Bombs photo shoot, a lot of the Blender Bomb girlies were like, you should talk about you and Austin's relationship because I think it's so fascinating. I was like, really? And even my cousin, she called me the other day and she was asking me questions about Austin and I's relationship. And I was like, well, maybe I can talk to that about maybe I can talk about our relationship in that capacity, because I feel like, yes, I am super, super deeply spiritual. And do me and Austin have all of the same beliefs about everything spiritually and religious? Not at all. No, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to realize every single person in your life has had a very different experience growing up from you. So if someone did not learn about Jesus and they don't know about Jesus, but you grew up talking about Jesus, like, in some ways you guys feel like you're speaking a different language, whereas it doesn't make you any less than connected to God, right? It's just really, really goes back to how you were raised. And so that's given me a lens of understanding and compassion, because a lot of times people are always like, why do you always say universe? I'm like, well, because universe to me is the most widely understood, and this podcast is international. So a lot of people grow up in the South saying Jesus and Bible and all these terms, but people in Germany or wherever I'm connecting with on an international scale, the universe is the most widely understood, because you kind of know that you can apply your own belief system through that lens. So, anyways, I think it's just interesting. A lot of people ask, like, how do you talk about things? Or, do you guys have the same belief systems? And do you agree on everything? And, how does that play out? Or even I would say, like, another thing is that women are honestly just, they're a little bit more spiritually advanced. I think, not that men aren't wizards too, because they are, and we love our kings, but men are a lot more in the present moment. They're like protect and provide. That's just like from an evolutionary standpoint. They literally can't help it. They're looking in the now. They're on alert. They're here to, that's kind of their like primal drive. And women, we have this very long foresight because we give birth, we have children, we can think about our offspring in a very, very long format. And so when we have that forward thinking, there's this third eye connection with women, especially women's intuition with pregnancy, with birth. We just have to be super tapped in to another human being on an energetic level, which in tunes makes us more intuitive. And we like literally grow another person inside of our body, which is just like fucking crazy and so cool. So we are like, and I always talk about when we're pregnant, it's one of the most intuitive times of our life as women, and that can activate a even deeper spiritual awareness. Birth is like a literal, like, it is a literal rebirth for the mom and the baby. Um, I've talked about this a lot. I'm in a dream circle, and we talk about how dream circle, a lot of the women have given birth. I have not given birth yet, but I talk about how my near death experience, it felt similar to birth. And a lot of people say when giving birth, it feels like this holy, like closer to God, like the veil is so thin. These moments, which are truly like this, they feel like these life or death moments, right? Where new life is being born, or when we're exiting to connect to God in another another way or another realm. Like it's just the veil is so thin during pregnancy. You are so tapped into both realms in a really beautiful, positive, supportive way. We're receiving support from the other side. There's just a lot happening, okay, with women and spirituality, and whether, that's through a lens of religion or just basic terms like universe, we can feel the energy. We can just feel it. And men are a little bit more in the now, which also is good because I like that, because Austin really does keep me in the present moment and he keeps me so grateful. And that man is so solid and so sound. But people do ask me all the time about, what is it like kind of developing a relationship, and maybe you're manifesting a partner. And it's interesting because I used to think that I was going to have to be with someone who was very, very spiritual, or someone who was aligned, who believed all the same things as me. And also, I'm just here to tell you that that is so not the case. It's so not what I ended up with. But Austin and I make perfect sense in my brain. I can't even explain it to people. Like, we really don't have a lot of the same, I don't want to say the same beliefs. We just grew up very differently also. But the way that I feel that, you have a good person or a good partner is that Austin he is my number one fan. He supports me. He loves telling people who are in the spiritual. He's like, yeah, my fiance, she reads the Akashic records. And Austin honestly still barely knows what that means. I mean, but he doesn't need to. And I think as long as you're with a partner who is open-minded, who is not going to shut you down for being interested or excited in any of the, practices that you participate in. If your partner is open-minded and supportive, it does not mean that they have to join you or be 100% on board with you all the time. And I honestly like that Austin and I lead very different lives. Like, he goes to church most Sundays. Sometimes I go with him if I'm feeling called. Sometimes on Sundays I have Reiki training. So I'm doing my Reiki work. But for me, that's church. I'm connecting to source, God, love, life force, energy. It's beautiful. So I just want to remind you guys that as long as you are with someone who is supportive and open, those are the two things that your relationship, you will continue to grow together and create your own unique formula. You can take things that you've learned as you were growing up. And I feel like after 25, you really start to question, your upbringing and how do I feel? Do I want to take this into my future, raising my children? Did I like this? And I think it's good to ask those questions. And I think it's good to ask those questions with a partner. But I would say those are my top two things. It's just open-mindedness and supportive. And sometimes, like I've told you guys, I've never read Austin's Akashic records. He's not interested, but I did just get my Reiki 2 attunement, and I'm on my way to becoming a Reiki master, which is really exciting. I've been practicing Reiki intuitively. I've done Reiki on Austin before, but I've mentioned on maybe a previous episode that legally, if you were to practice it, you need a Reiki certification through reiki.org. Because there's also, there's some legality around using the terminology Reiki. And so I wanted to get formal certification so that I could offer it potentially in a live event setting. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm Reiki level 1 and 2 attuned, and I will be going on to become a Reiki master. And Austin is so stoked about that. He's like, I can't wait for you to do Reiki on me. He's so excited. And that is so, like, he is so come out of his shell, and we have so grown together. He's always been a very holistic person. He believes in energy. But I think that certain things, honestly, he's had his own certain experiences struggling with anxiety or insomnia or things that have come up in his life that have activated his curiosity to explore with me deeper. And I was there and I met him and I was like, yes, let's meditate. Let's try these things. Let's do EFT tapping. Let's do Reiki. And he was like, wow, I really understand why people pay you a lot of money for sessions. I really understand. But it was never until he came to me asking for those things. I never, ever, ever, and we had been together for like, well over a year and a half. So I really do believe that you and the person that you're going to end up with, or even the person that you're in partnership with right now, as long as they're seeing you live in your essence and you have a strong connection, and however that shows up for you and however it makes you feel good, they're going to be inspired, and you don't have to convince them, show them, lead them unless they ask. I always tell people that, like, you never have to convince anyone of anything. And this also, I want you guys to know, this conversation that we're having, this could be about anyone. This could be about family members as you embark on a spiritual journey. as you up level, you're going to change. And people are like, wow, you're so different. And you're like, yeah, I am. And unless they want to know more, because I remember when I first was, having a spiritual experience, I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, my reality is so malleable. I want to help people. I want to tell them all the things. They're on their own journey. And I love it if you're excited and you will come across the people that are ready to hear it. But there's going to be some people that aren't. They're going to be super not interested. And that's their journey, that's their path. So, yeah, I really do think that the best thing that you can do in relationship with someone who maybe you wish was more spiritually curious, how about that? Or would meet you there, is that you just shine so bright. You commit to your practice, you commit to feeling good, you commit to talking to your angels, your journal, your higher self. And then you literally shine so bright. You're so magnetic. You don't even have to use words. People are just going to be like, what in the world have you been doing? You look different. You're glowing. You look incredible. And you're like, oh my gosh, well, I've started meditating and I've been going to therapy and I've been shifting my energy. And that physical proof that they can see sometimes is the most powerful activation that you can provide for someone. So, right now, I've been doing a 40-minute meditation every morning to an hour, which for me is I usually do 40 minutes, but I've been actually an hour and 7 minutes. That extra 7 minutes is a kicker. Okay. It's a doozy. I've been doing some deep Joe Dispenza meditations because I'm really trying to do some healing. It just kind of depends whatever season I'm in. Sometimes I'll do like a 20 to 30 or 30 to 40, 40 being max, but I'll do like an energy clearing and protection. I do a lot of different stuff like Reiki or tapping or whatever. Right now, I'm doing deep cellular transformation for optimal health. And so that's a bit deeper, more advanced meditating. I wouldn't recommend you starting there, but I'm just saying I've been doing that. And in my head, I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh, I wish Austin would get back into meditating with me because he kind of goes in and out and he's a really good meditator. But I think he has, I don't know, I think that he's just, like I said, he's on his own journey. I don't know what it is. But in my head, I was like, you know what? If I commit to this meditation practice, if I'm doing it for 40 minutes to an hour every day of this intense and my health is just turns into becoming immaculate, and then I manifest, millions of dollars and all the things that we all want, Austin's going to be like, well, damn. Okay, it's working. And I already know that guy's going to be sitting right beside me, eyes closed, crisscross applesauce, meditating. And that's how it works. So I just want you to remember, and that's how it's worked throughout the course of our relationship. I I don't know how else to say this. I really am a very mentally stable person. I don't struggle with anxiety anymore. These are all things that I struggled with at one point. And I know there was times where Austin was struggling. And when he looked at me and was like, wow, you're so grounded, you're not anxious, and you sleep immaculately. Please tell me how, teacher. So, and I did. And now he is a completely renewed person. And Michael Singer was one, The Surrender Experiment, that book. And let's see, not Untethered, Untamed. Why am I forgetting? I'll put it in the show notes, but anything by Michael Singer that really resonated super deeply with Austin. So if you have anybody in your life who is just newer to a spiritual path or journey, I think that's a really great place to start. But ultimately, as long as you are living your truth, you are committed to shining as bright as you possibly can, and you just keep marching on your lane, and you don't have to you don't have to convince anybody, you don't have to tell them what you're doing, you don't have to preach to them. I am not ever going to preach to anybody that does not want me to listen. You guys opt into my podcast every week, so I will tell you everything. But for random people on Instagram or on the street that I see, I just do me. And if they're drawn to me and they want to know more, then that's me being a leader because I'm just committed to being in my sparkly essence and being authentic. And being authentic is ultimately how we get people on board with whatever it is that we're doing, right? That's how we actually create change in our structure, in our families, in our partnerships, in our relationships, is being so deeply committed to our authenticity. People just want to do what we're doing. They want to be near us. And yeah, I feel like I went off on such a tangent. People were asking about Austin and I's relationship and our dynamic. And he has always been very much so in his knowing and in his power, but he is exploring his relationship with meditation, with Reiki, with all of these things as he sees how much it is improving the quality of my life. And I think that's really cool because y'all know me. I love to teach people things. I love to show people things. So sometimes I do have to bite my tongue when Austin comes to me and, something's going on, unless he's ready to hear what I am going to tell him. sometimes it's just going to fall on deaf ears. It's just like his higher self, his consciousness isn't ready for some of the information that I've already known. And that's just how it's going to go being in this spiritual journey. Like everyone's on their own path. And the most spiritual thing you can do is just focus on your relationship with yourself and let everybody be. And I know sometimes you're like, oh, but it's so frustrating because when you see people tinkering and off on another path, they've got to go down that road. They've got to touch that hot stove. They've got to burn their hands. We can't save them. I know it's hard. It's hard, but it is. Everyone's on their path. And I really believe every single lesson people experience is meant to be. And you're going to be in your divine knowing. And that's exactly where you're meant to be. So, if there's anyone in your life that maybe isn't understanding your path or where you're at, I promise you, everyone really does come around and they start to see, like, oh, yeah, I really see how good your life is going and how my life is not looking like that. And I would like to know what you're doing over there. And when they're ready, they'll come, they'll follow. But yeah, just in conclusion, I guess when dating or even with friendships or anything in the just closeness, intimate relationships that we have with people. I have friends who are deeply spiritual. I have friends who aren't very spiritual. I have friends who are deeply religious. And I don't know. I just think that we all get along really beautifully. I do not have the same religious and political beliefs as like collectively. My friend group is like very eclectic. I have people all over the map. And I just feel that, yeah, I'm just really rooted in myself and my self identity and my connection to God and the universe that I can get along with anyone because I don't get upset or offended by their views or beliefs because I don't need to convince them. We don't all need to believe the same thing. Honestly, that'd be boring. We just all literally like agreed on everything. I mean, I think it's interesting when people disagree with your beliefs and you can at least hear them out. But I don't get upset. I don't get upset because I don't allow other people or energy outside of me to dictate my reality. And that's another thing of just practicing and being really disciplined with connecting with my emotions on the inside and having outlets to express emotions freely. It really gives me this clean slate and this clear lens of which I can see everybody is ultimately clinging to a belief system out of comfort or familiarity or wanting to be loved and accepted. So, yeah, I think it's tricky when you're in this world because everybody has such strong beliefs and such also the world is just kind of it's a crazy place out there. It's crazy. And people are really convicted. And this is just a reminder for you to stay true to you and to stay true to your sparkle and just keep walking the walk, man. Just walk the walk and others will see you and they will follow. You don't even have to talk. Yes, we want you to walk the walk and talk the talk, but you don't have to do too much talking. I really don't. I think I just live a really joyful life and people have always been drawn to me because of that. And that's like at its core, that's manifestation. I think just being the most authentic version of you and everything else, everyone that's meant to connect with you will. So just remember that, take the pressure off of, relationships and needing a person to look a certain way because you can actually meet someone. And Austin and I have grown together so much and I know we'll continue growing together. So even if you meet, your future boyfriend, you're like, oh, he's not that spiritual or, oh, they're not that this, but I need them to be. Take the pressure off, zoom out, give them some space to grow, to meet you there, to learn. You could be someone to teach them, like it doesn't have to, you don't always have to be like 100% on the same wavelength in order for you to have a strong foundation or a strong relationship. I really do believe that I'm really excited to see where Austin and I's relationship is at in 5 years because our relationship has just continued to get better and stronger, which I think is interesting. Not that our relationship wasn't good in the beginning, but it was just way more surface level. Now it's a lot deeper. We're a lot deeper soul connected than when we first met. And that took time. I mean, I moved cautiously. I wanted to get to know him. Also, he was really busy. He was in coaching. And yeah, I think that you've also got to allow people to grow to meet you there. And there's some people that don't, and that's okay. They might fall away, and that's all right. But you don't have to go into something with extremely high expectations or needing someone to 100% meet you there in all areas of your life because it's a little unrealistic. And if I had had that mentality, Austin and I would not be together today. Because let me tell you what, when I first started telling him about all my spiritual gifts, he was like, I've literally never met anyone like you. I didn't even know people like this existed. I'm like, well, and then I just was existing as myself. And then he slowly started to understand. And the other day I asked him, I was like, if you could describe me in one word, what would it be? And he said, you are magical. And I was like, that's the best word ever. So now it's like he sees me, even if he doesn't know the extent of my superpowers and how I am a wizard. That's okay. He knows what he needs to know and he knows what makes him feel safe and comfortable. And I know that he's going to continue to deepen his experience of me and our relationship. And there's room to grow. And I always think it's good when there's room to grow in a relationship. So, yeah, this has been a very long winded relationship chat. But also, like I said, this could be like a platonic relationship, a loving relationship, a family relationship. Just my best advice is to always wear a lens of compassion and understand that even if someone does not agree with you, especially right now where things like, I don't know when the election is because I'm so mother freaking tuned out of politics and what's going on in the news because I just can't even keep up. I know it's coming up sometime soon, but when having conversations that are potentially triggering or frustrating for you, and you're like, how do you not see what I see? How do you not understand what's going on here? Or, you have those thoughts and those feelings. You just got to understand that people are coming from a place of fear. They're scared. They are scared and they want to they want to be able to control a certain narrative in their mind that makes them feel comfortable or makes them feel safe and that you don't have to, same thing, you don't have to convince people of your beliefs. You can just sit there and smile and hold space and move along. And that's if that makes you feel peace. At the end of the day, we're trying to keep our own peace, protecting your peace in whatever way, shape, or form that presents for you. This is your permission slip that you do not have to do or say anything. You can just exist as you, and that is perfect. And you are whole and you are worthy of being here and being magnificent and sparkly and fabulous. And don't let anybody steal your light or dull your shine this week. Okay. That's my one ask. You can just be you. So that is today's rant. And I feel like somebody needed to hear it because it came into my brain and then I just speak it. So, as always, you guys, thanks for coming to class. And if you feel so called to sharing with a friend, I would be very appreciative. That's how the podcast continues to grow. And over the summer, I will be tapping out for school's out for summer. We'll be taking a break and you can spend some time binging and catching up on all things AGU. And of course, I'd love to have you guys follow us at AG University Podcast. I've been sharing a lot more kind of like little 60-second readings or just some things that are going on in the collective. I always open the Akashic Records just for AG University Podcast. And it's a little message that if you see the message or the video, then it's meant for you. And I truly believe that. I wanted to read you guys this review from the retreat because I just thought it was so wholesome and sweet. And I'm in the current phase of planning 2 more retreats and they're like over a year away. Okay, so you guys can start planning, getting your calendar together, financially saving, because I just wanted to read this. I asked a couple of the girls to submit a review and I'm going to put it on the trip planning page, but this is from my darling dear Amanda. She said, "Where do I even begin? This retreat was the most life-changing thing I have ever done. I knew that with AG's energy and everything that she does, this was going to be super fun and a wonderful experience. But I could have never foreseen just how amazing it was. AG really did cultivate the most amazing place, people, and space for this retreat, as I'm sure she will continue to do for all the future retreats. The energy everyone brought, being so open, kind, and genuine, was something I have never experienced with such a large group of women before. The amount of support, kindness, and power that came from this group was amazing. The itinerary was literally a perfect combination of relaxing, fun adventures and life-changing energy work. Our tour guide was amazing, and the way that he and AG worked to make the itinerary adaptable and flexible was honestly incredible. The energy work and somatic movement dancing of this retreat was some of the most powerful things I have ever experienced. I learned so much about myself and my connection to the universe, and even my purpose during our meditations. I healed a lot during this retreat, and the somatic movement was one of the best feelings I have ever had. Dancing in that way was fun and felt powerful, and afterwards, I literally felt bubbly and light, similar to a feeling of being high but with no drugs involved. That's the best kind. I have come home with a whole new version of myself and everyone, in all caps, in my life. Both people who know me well and some who don't know me so well have noticed. The power of 8 circles have absolutely changed my life in so many ways, and it has only been just over a week. It's actually almost scary, like careful what you wish for situation, because I feel like everything is moving and changing so much in my life towards my truest passion, which is so exciting, but also something I never thought would happen. But the opportunity to participate in a circle of 8, both giving and receiving energy, was such a unique and beautiful experience. It was wonderful that was part of our time in Costa Rica. I could go on and on. I really have nothing but amazing things to say about this experience. Everything was so perfect and amazing. Nothing will ever quite compare to it. I have made lifelong friends, and I literally up-leveled, and I am on my way to a life that I have always dreamed of and never thought would be my reality, all thanks to this retreat and thanks to AG. Oh, they give me chills. So I want to wrap this up with a huge thank you to AG and everyone on AG's team in her life that helped make this happen in any kind of way. I truly feel so lucky that I was able to participate in this experience, and I know that these experiences are going to change so many people's lives. You should all be so, so proud. I am honored and so thankful for all the work that went into this experience. With lots of love and light, Amanda. Oh, Amanda, I love you so much. That was such a beautiful review. It gave me full body chills, and I really do. I feel so in my purpose doing the retreat work. And I know that anybody who comes on a retreat with me is going to leave a completely different person. Not only are we releasing energetic stagnation and blocks in your body, we are deeply connecting with our higher self. We're all receiving messages. There's so much power when we gather. Our DNA literally on a cellular level alters when we come together in the Akashic realm in this way. It is so powerful and it is so potent. And I will never stop talking about it because I want everyone in this lifetime to reach their highest potential. And I will freaking make that happen to the best of my ability. I really am I'm committed to the mission. I know that you've got a lot. You've got a big life, especially if you listen to this podcast, you're here for a reason and it's a big one. And I want to make you do the thing. And I will always say that from episode 1 until today, I will make you do the thing. And that retreat was just such a beautiful representation of exactly how I wanted someone to feel leaving an AG University retreat. So there's 2 more that are being planned. We're several months out. So you guys will know, but I want you to start preparing so that you can come because you need to be there. And that's all. Now I'm really leaving. Okay. I love you guys. Thanks for coming to class. Have a beautiful rest of your week, and I'll see you next week. Mwah. Bye. As always, I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in. If you feel so called or if it feels aligned, I would love for you to leave me a review here. I always love reading your beautiful thoughts and messages. And also you can find me at Anna Grace Newell on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I will link all of my courses, AG University course curriculum in the show notes, along with if you're interested in booking an Akashic Records reading with me. My scheduling link goes out in my newsletter. It goes out once a month and it's completely free. I would love to have you there. As always, I'm a proud professor and you get an A+ for making it all the way through the end. Love you.